Seahawks Today coming up in just a moment, but first want to make you guys aware of some notable injury changes that occurred since we recorded this segment on our live show on Wednesday. One of those is that Bryce Young is officially been ruled out for the Panthers. Andy Dalton will get the start. Meanwhile, for the Seahawks, Riq Woolen's been downgraded to doubtful, as Pete Carroll says he is likely not going to play. On the Bryce Young front, that kind of changes things for our keys to victory that we're going to show you here in just a second. I had mentioned that they needed to go after Bryce Young. Well, now you go after Andy Dalton instead. Here's more on Keys to Victory Injury Report, what it's going to take to get a Seahawks win right now here on this edition of Seahawks Today.
It's almost that time. Seahawks football week number 3 as Seattle is set to take on Carolina in a very under-the-radar matchup. The Seahawks looking to keep up the momentum from a last week's win on the road against the Detroit Lions. Carolina off to an 0-2 start. They're in desperation mode. They're in a weak division, so they're not out of it, but they need to win to keep pace. They're in the NFC South. Very important game for both these teams. Here's what I have for you, folks. I need you to like today's video. If you want to beat the Panthers, like the video. Simple as that. I have a list that I've been given of everybody that likes today's video and who doesn't like today's video. And if the Seahawks lose because you didn't like today's video, I will come find you. I will knock on your door, and I will let you have it. I will give you more than an earful because you didn't like today's video. So go ahead. Don't jinx it. Don't be that guy. Like today's video, and we'll continue here on today's show. Let's go to the injury report for the Seahawks. Mike Morris, the shoulder injury, he is out. He is on IR, and he is likely done for the season. Jamal Adams with the knee injury, full go in practice this week. His situation remains doubtful. What we had heard from Pete Carroll earlier this week was that Jamal Adams likely wouldn't be ready to go this week just yet, but he should be ready to go the following week. But as of now, he's doubtful that could change. DK Metcalf with his ribs injury, a little bit of pain he's dealing with. He should be fine, but for now, he's questionable. Boye Mafe with a knee injury that held him out last week, he's questionable. That's not all the injuries there, folks. Riq Woolen with a chest injury, he is questionable. Charles Cross with the turf toe, he's questionable. And then there's Devin Bush with the shoulder injury, he is questionable. So a lot to unpack there. Seahawks probably going to be a bit shorthanded, but the Panthers also have some injuries themselves. Miles Sanders dealing with a pectoral injury. Justin Houston, who the Panthers acquired a while back, the veteran who's had a fantastic career. And although he's a little bit older now, he still had 9+ sacks last year. Calf injury, he's questionable. Brian Burns, who there's been rumors that the Panthers are kind of shopping right now. He's dealing with an ankle injury. He's questionable. Chandler Wooten, knee injury, questionable. And then Bryce Young, more on him later. Ankle injury, he is questionable, but I think he's probably going to play. With all the injuries, the way things look, I think it's kind of similar to last weekend that both offensively and defensively, you take an all-hands-on-deck approach where, sure, you're going to be heavy favorites against Carolina. They're not a very good team and all that, but you are playing shorthanded. It's going to take everybody to get the job done and get this win. So with that said, let's get to our keys to a Seahawks victory. Number one, first and foremost, establish the run. I know I feel like I talk about this almost every week, but until the Seahawks get their run game figured out, I will continue to talk about this. Look, in today's day and age of the National Football League, although we've seen offensive change, one thing that hasn't changed in the NFL is you have to run the football to win in this league. Through 2 games, granted a small sample size, the Seahawks are not running the football well right now. And they paid the price for it in week 1. They were able to get by basically without it in week 2. The run game has to get going, and this is a good opportunity to get it going this week against Carolina. I got some numbers that I want to get to in a moment. First, though, predict the score. How will Sunday's game play out between the Seahawks and Panthers? Who wins? What's the final? I have my prediction that I will get to at the end of the show, but want to hear from you first. Weigh in the comment section. Tell me what you think it will be. So here are the current rushing statistics for the Seahawks through 2 games. And they're not anything to write home about. Kenneth Walker leads the Seahawks in rushing with 107 yards, 2 touchdowns. Zach Charbonnet with 7 carries for 27 yards, 3.9 yards per carry. As a whole, the Seahawks only have 167 rushing yards through 2 games and 2 touchdowns, less than 4 yards per carry. That ain't good. But this is a good get-back opportunity this week against Carolina. Look at this. The Panthers do not do well defending the run through 2 weeks. Their rush play percentage is 27th in the league. Opposing yards per rush is 4.5. That's 21st in the league. Opponent rushing yards per game, 29.5. That's 22nd in the league. Opponent rushing yards per game, 132. That's 25th in the league. Opponent rushing touchdowns per game, 2.0. That's 28th in the league. So you can see they're in the bottom half of the league in every single rushing statistic. And then, as far as the Seahawks go, of trying to find that consistency, here's the thing. It's, I don't think, necessarily an indictment on the running backs. It's not like Kenneth Walker just wasn't good anymore, or Zach Charbonnet isn't the guy we thought he was. It comes down to the offensive line doing its part and get the run blocking going, because it was just 3 games ago that Kenneth Walker had a 100-yard rushing day. It was Week 18 against the LA Rams last year. 3 straight games. I think the Seahawks are going to get back on track and get this run game going, and this is the week to do it here against Carolina. So with that said, I want to make sure you join us coming up Sunday. We're going to be live at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock at the East Coast for our Seahawks-Panthers watch party. I'll be here. Smitty's going to be here. And I hope that you are here as well. We're going to have a heck of a time, folks. You won't want to miss a single moment of it. We'll be live throughout the game, breaking it down in real time, have a few drinks on hand. Subscribe now, sub for dubs. Help us get to 41,000 subscribers. Join the family, and we'll see you on Sunday here on the channel. Number 2 on keys to victory. Got to get pressure on Bryce Young early. The Seahawks really need to do what they can to kind of rattle him and get him out of his comfort zone right away. We mentioned in the injury report earlier that Bryce Young is dealing with a little ankle issue. And I'm not saying you need to go out and hurt the guy. Don't take that the wrong way. But I think you need to rattle his cage a little bit throughout this game from the jump. Right now, Bryce Young hasn't started off great. Less than 60% completion percentage, less than 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks so far to start off the season. But, I mean, you look at Bryce Young's track record, and it's as good as any rookie we've seen at the quarterback position in a long time. I mean, this is a guy that was the number 1 pick, won the Heisman Trophy, a consensus All-American, former college football player of the year in 2021. Bryce Young, as the kids say, he is him. And you guys know, I'm a big college football fan. Quite frankly, I think I love college football more than the NFL, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. And I myself saw a lot of Bryce Young in his college career with the Alabama Crimson Tide. And one of the things that I personally noticed that I take away from scouting Bryce Young and what he brings to the table is that when he gets going early, when he gets in rhythm, he is hard to stop. That was the thing that I looked at when watching Bryce Young over the years was this is a guy that, I mean, the consistency is there. If you want to slow down Bryce Young, you have to get that going early and kind of get him to step back a bit. I mean, think about the games last year. Tennessee and LSU, the 2 losses Alabama had, those were games where Alabama was playing from behind. When he got going hot, like the K-State game and the Sugar Bowl, then he took off from there. So that's what I would say. Really go after Bryce Young early in this game and set the tone from there. Today's show is presented by BetUS, the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. Go to chatsports.com/bet, enter the promo code Seahawks125. You will get a 125% deposit bonus. Put $100 down. You get $125 to spin for free at chatsports.com/bet, promo code Seahawks125. The odds for Sunday, the Seahawks about a touchdown favorite right now, 6 points to be exact. Over-under currently sitting at 42. If you want to bet on this game, as well as Seahawks football all season long, you can do so at chatsports.com/bet. And the promo code Seahawks125 to get your bets in today. That's chatsports.com/bet, promo code Seahawks125. Next on keys to victory for the Seahawks. Got to clean up the penalties. I feel like this one kind of goes without saying. It's expected that you limit mistakes, right? We mention that every week, that it's kind of a given of some sorts. But, I mean, when you think about it, the worst thing you can do is let self-inflicted wounds stand in your way. And you have to limit those mistakes. You can't beat yourself. And one of the things we've seen from the Seahawks through 2 weeks, the penalties are just way too much right now. The Seahawks are in the bottom half in every statistic when it comes to penalties right now. Penalties per play, 26th in the league. Penalties per game, 8 penalties a game? Penalty yardage, 67.5, 25th in the league. Penalty yards there, 8.4, which is 21st in the league. And then there's one guy in particular that I think we all have our eyes on when we think about penalties. And that's wide receiver DK Metcalf. We all know about what happened a couple weeks ago in the Rams, and let the emotions get the best of him, ended up getting the fine and all that. And, Pete Carroll and company didn't like that. And they sent a message that, hey, what happened there can't happen again. You got to keep your cool, DK. And as I was doing my research, prepping for this game, I stumbled across this. Did you know DK's been called for more unsportsmanlike conduct penalties since 2018 than any other player in the NFL? Even all the players you hate on that think play dirty and all that, DK's got more unsportsmanlike conduct penalties than those guys. Now, I'm not trying just to single out DK. This goes to a bigger issue here. You can't stand in your own way. Don't let the emotions get the best of you. Clean up the little stuff, and it'll pay out in the long run. Pete Carroll had this to say recently about DK and what exactly went on with that penalty that he was handed against the Rams, saying, this is nothing new. DK's been an emotional, feisty, fiery player since the day he got here, and that is who he is. But he also has to manage that so they don't take advantage of it. It's a very good point from Pete Carroll. More to come in just a moment, but first, name a player that needs to step up for the Seahawks this week. Who's a guy that comes to mind that you would like to see have a big day that needs to take that next step forward? Chime in the comments section. Give me one player in particular that you'd like to see step up for the Seahawks this week here against Carolina. Yak it up, up, yak it up, yak it up, up, fire! You like that, folks? Yards after catch. That's what yak stands for. One problem that we've seen from the Seahawks offense so far in the last couple of weeks is that they have had this inability to get the yards after contact. And I want to see the Seahawks bring that big play energy, push the ball down the field, and it should be one of Geno Smith's strengths. Remember, and I've referenced this many, many times before, but I will continue to reiterate, one of Geno Smith's strengths is getting the football down the field, the deep passing game. So far for the first couple of games, the deep passing game hasn't necessarily been there. And for the Seahawks, I want to see them push that ball down the field, get those yak yards going, because this might sound like a bull stat to you, but it's true. The Seahawks wide receivers have averaged 3.2 yards per yak yards since 2022. That's the second worst in the NFL. And this season, they've only had 179 yards after catch this season. That's 21st in the NFL. Meanwhile, heads Carolina, tails California. The Panthers have allowed just 3.6 yak yards per reception to wide receivers since 2022. So you point one thing to the other. Carolina, very good at defending yak plays. Seahawks struggle with yak plays. Something needs to improve there. Need to not let Carolina own that as they typically do. Last, not least, all gas, no brakes. You guys know, I'm a big NASCAR fan. Put the pedal to the metal, right? That's why I want to see this Seahawks team. The tail of the tape between these two offenses, it ain't even close when we break down these two teams statistically. I mean, the Carolina Panthers offense doesn't even belong on the same field, statistically speaking. The Seahawks average through 2 games 25 points a game. Carolina just 13.5. Yards per game, Seattle about 26.5 yards more, better in third down percentage. I wish I had the John Madden Telestrator going right now, because where I would circle is the red zone percentage. And the Seahawks are just a little more than 71%. Carolina at only 40% in the red zone. Seahawks do a much better job of getting points in those situations. Touchdowns per game, Seattle's averaged about 3. Carolina is only getting about 1 per game right now. So I show you all of those numbers to basically ride home this point. Last week when we looked at the Detroit Lions game, I think all of us said, where the offensive line is at, maybe you want to slow the game down, probably don't want to get into a shootout, and it actually turned into a shootout, and the Seahawks won in a shootout. Now we looked ahead to this week, and there's no reason to be scared of a shootout with Carolina. Can't be scared, okay? If this turns into a game where it comes down to who has the ball last, I'm taking the Seahawks every damn time. Just let it fly. Don't worry about the clock in any of that. The Seahawks just roll with it. Go score. Go score quick. If you can get that big play, go after it as far as I'm concerned. If this looks like a Big 12 football game, that's fine with me because the Seahawks win every time. Before I reveal my prediction for Sunday, give me a key to victory. I gave you my 5. Now give me your key to victory to take down the Panthers this weekend. Let us know in the comment section. So, to recap, keys to the game for the Seahawks: establish the run, get Bryce Young early, get after him, rattle his cage a bit, clean up the penalties, yak it up, all gas, no brakes. Don't be afraid of a shootout because you'll win in a shootout. With that said, my prediction, I like the Seahawks to win convincingly. I think they win by 2 scores. I think they're a much better team than the Carolina Panthers are right now. I like Seattle 34-21. Subscribe to the channel for the latest happenings in your Seattle Seahawks. We'll be live on Sunday, 1 p.m. Pacific time. Me and Smitty, we will see you then. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time right here on Seahawks.